everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Ask Dr. Reilly Show. As you should know by now, my name is Dr. Anissa Reilly, and I am your host for this evening. Like I always tell you to do, make sure you get your adult beverage, get your favorite snack. Is it Raisinets? Well, I'm going to be a sponsor for Raisinets now, I see. Or is it popcorn? Whatever it is that you like to munch on while you are enjoying some fabulous content, then that is what you need to get. Because tonight, you're going to engage in a journey that may pull at your heartstrings. So you need to eat that popcorn. You need to drink that drink so that way you can move through the journey with my fabulous guests this evening. So tonight's story is going to be a couple that is going to walk us into their lives at a most vulnerable moment. It is a moment that many of you may have heard about. It's a moment that many of you may have dealt with. But it is a moment that I am honored that they are allowing us to come into their space. But we're going to first start with the woman. Her name is Brooke Lugo Smith. She is amazing, she is a rock star, and she is hashtag Black Girl Magic, all right? So, make sure you have your stuff. Are you ready? And do you have your tissues? I hope that you do, because right now, coming to the stage, coming to the studio, is hashtag Black Girl Magic, Brooke Lugo Smith. Come on, lady, come on in. Come on into the space. Here she comes. Make sure you drink and you wipe it. Yes.
Hello, Dr. Reilly.
Yes, welcome.
Hello.
Thank you. You can have a seat. You can have a seat. Welcome, welcome. So we have hashtag Black Girl Magic. Get that trending, please, because we are two black girls full of magic, full of awesomeness, and like I told y'all before, fantabulous. Fantastic plus fabulous equals fantabulous. Anyway, with that being said, Brooke, tell the people who you are.
Yes. Hi, everybody. My name is Brooke Lugo Smith. I'm the co-founder of the Baby Resource Center, and we help families, expectant families, and families that also experience a pregnancy or infant loss.
Okay, well, there's more to you than that, Brooke Lugo. Okay, and I was like, this is who I am, but tell them who you are so they can know, because you're not only a boss, but you are also a wife.
Yes.
A mother.
Yes.
Share that.
Yes, I am the awesome wife to an amazing husband, Colin Smith. I'm the mother to an amazing little boy named Jackson Gray Smith. I'm the Student Government Association president at my college, Medgar Evers College.
Yes.
I'm also a vocalist, producer, writer, and rapper.
Oh. Okay, we might get her to spit some bars today because I come from the hip hop generation, so bars is the word that they use today, but kick it, like, I don't know, spit in is what that's where I came from. But, so how I like to start all my shows, all my interviews with my guests is to get their definition of the theme for the season.
Okay.
And so the theme for the season is loss. So my question is, what does loss mean to you?
That is a heavy question.
Yes.
Wow. How can I say it simply? Loss is growth. Loss is growth. It pushes you to a place where you will have to grow and stretch and be uncomfortable, but growing leads to great things. So I think that's how I put it.
All right. So for somebody out there who was drinking their liquor, or adult beverage, who was drinking their adult beverage, and they heard you say loss is growth, can you just tell us a little bit more how you can equate loss with growing? Because some people equate loss with pain.
Well, the reason why I think it's growing is because the pain is what you feel initially. And unless you're going to stay there, you have to grow. You have to move. You're going to have to deal with things that you've never dealt with before, and that makes you grow. Okay. That makes you stronger. I know in the midst of the pain, we don't like to hear that. I know I didn't like to hear it. People used to always tell me, like, oh, you're so strong. I don't want to be strong right now. I don't want to be strong. I'm not asking to be strong, but at the end of the journey, you'll see growth. So that's what I equate it to right now.
Well, since you just brought up the journey, can we start at the beginning of the journey that brought you to this place of growth?
Yes. Well, My husband and I, we were pregnant with our first child, a little girl. Even the story of her name is kind of funny, if I could tell that, just to have a happy moment.
Yes, I was about to ask you, we have to call her by her name.
Yes.
So Kennedy?
Yes.
Oh, I just gave the name.
Yes. So initially her name was going to be Clark Renee, and I had that name since we got married, and we shook on it, we agreed on it. But he didn't like the name, and eventually I told him, I was like, well, if you could find a better name, then, you know, we can name her that. And I just knew that I was going to win, and he wasn't going to pick a better name. But he came home one day with Kennedy Gray, and I was like, dang, that's good. That's real good.
That's like power. That's like, you know, generational wealth.
I was like, why did I not think of that? So we named her Kennedy Gray. We had a great pregnancy. Everything went well. We were attentive. But towards the end of my pregnancy, like maybe about maybe 1 month left, so between my 8th and ninth month, I started experiencing decreased fetal movement. So that just pretty much means that she wasn't moving the way that she should be at the time, especially being further along in my pregnancy. We went to the hospital and to the doctor multiple times complaining, saying that we felt this way, we felt that way. They would do minimal tests on us. We were told even not to come in before. Oh, it just sounds like, early labor. Or at one point, the nurse practitioner even identified the baby as lazy.
Wow.
Lazy, which in hindsight means that you kind of identified the same thing that I identified, lack of movement, lazy. So I think that part of the story is what makes, what we've dealt with so complicated. But eventually, we just kept going back. We just said, nope, I know what I feel. I'm going to keep going. And maybe about the 4th time that I went, no heartbeat. The baby was no longer alive. They induced me. And 2 days later, I gave birth to a 7-pound, 6-ounce little girl named Kennedy Gray. She was stillborn. That's the term, the official term. And that started the journey.
Well, you just brought up something really big that I don't want it to get lost on the audience. Healthcare.
Yes.
Healthcare, especially for Black women.
Yes, not being heard.
Not being heard. Because when you begin to really delve into healthcare for Black women, they have this preconceived idea that we're so strong, that our pain tolerance level is much higher than any person else out there, any other culture, that we really don't know what we're talking about. So explain that aspect of it, because people really don't understand that there is a disconnect and with healthcare, and it's not the same across the board.
It's how we're valued. We've heard it a lot of times, Black women are not valued the way that we should be, especially with everything we do. And I think at that moment, that's exactly what it felt like my opinion, what I felt, like it wasn't real, it wasn't valued. And then it wasn't taken seriously. There was so many comments like that too. Oh, your children will make liars out of you. What does that comment really mean? So you really didn't believe what I was saying. You didn't, and that's what makes the situation so complicated, because in my situation, she had a knot in her umbilical cord that was also around her neck. That was preventable. If you would have listened to what I said and did further testing, we could have identified that there was an issue, but you didn't look further. So I do believe that there is a problem, and that led us to our business.
Well, we're not going to get to the business yet because I want to lean into your story a little bit more, right? So talk about that moment when the doctors gave you the diagnosis.
Much of my research focuses on health insurance coverage, who has coverage, how it's changed over time, and how to continue to make progress. And rates of uninsurance vary significantly by race. Prior to implementation of the Affordable Care Act, nearly 1 in 3 Hispanic people and nearly 1 in 5 Black people were uninsured, compared to about 1 in 8 whites. But the ACA has helped to close this racial gap. Since the ACA's core coverage provisions came online in 2014, rates of uninsurance across all racial groups have fallen dramatically, with the biggest gains among Black and Hispanic people. At the same time, there is still significant work to do. Today, 30 million people still remain uninsured, and about half of them are people of color. One of the specific reasons that people of color are disproportionately likely to be uninsured today has to do with the fact that 14 states have refused to expand Medicaid under the Affordable Care Act. More than 90% of the people who were locked out of coverage because of their state's refusal to expand Medicaid live in the South, and indeed some of the states with the biggest Black populations are those that have not expanded Medicaid under the ACA. So bringing Medicaid expansion to the remaining states and taking other steps that continue to move towards universal coverage will reduce racial disparities. But of course, just as there are racial disparities in access to health insurance, there are also racial disparities in health outcomes. And some of the most shocking statistics have to do with infant and maternal mortality. In the US, white babies die before their first birthday at a rate of 4.9 per 1,000. White women die from pregnancy and childbirth-related causes at a rate of 13 per 100,000. Those numbers are shocking and scary, and they are far higher than other rich countries. But for Black babies and Black moms, the picture is far worse. Black babies die at a rate of 11.4 per 1,000, more than 1%. Black moms die at a rate of 42.8 per 100,000. Those numbers are more than double and more than triple the rate of whites, respectively. And no one really knows why. Try to imagine what would happen if white moms and white babies were dying at the rate of Black moms and Black babies. What conversations would policymakers be having? What scientific research would we be funding? How would doctors be treating their patients differently? All of us, policymakers, scientists, physicians, should be asking ourselves what more we can do to give this issue the attention it deserves.
So talk about that moment when the doctors gave you the diagnosis.
So that was complicated. They told us that there was no heartbeat. We didn't understand what that meant. Like, what do you mean no heartbeat? Find the heartbeat. Go look again. And, I don't know if maybe it was difficult for the doctor to deal with the situation as well, but she didn't want to keep looking. We asked multiple times. My husband immediately came over and prayed. Then we tried to look again, hoping that maybe we would be that testimony, that story.
Yes.
God
did the work.
Yes, he got, but what do you do when God says no? You don't give up. You definitely don't do that. And he's the reason why we got through the situation, or we're getting through, because I think it's an ongoing process. But so I feel like we weren't really given the resources that we needed. She told us that she was ready to walk out the room, and we're looking at her like, well, what do we do now? She's like, oh, you can go home.
This is the doctor.
The doctor. I was like, okay, go home and do what exactly? And she's like, oh, well, your body will naturally, deliver. But even with giving us that information, it could have been given differently.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have sat down. We should have went through the different, we don't know.
Yeah.
So go through all the different items. Tell us what our options are, And I'm sitting there like, well, can't we do an emergency C-section? And she's like, oh, well, we can't risk your life for a dead fetus. Trauma on top of trauma on top of trauma. Yes, this is what I'm talking about, value. Because I feel like if you value the relationship of your client or your patient, you wouldn't, phrase things a certain way. You would try to be a little bit more tactful, how you speak to them. But so we really didn't know what to do. So, I told her that, I don't want to go home. I said, you can't induce me. And then she was like, well, she kept, I guess, So then she said yes, and then we went on to make our phone call to tell our parents. I think that was the first time we cried, because I think we were in such fight mode. At first, it was just kind of like I couldn't believe that now I'm putting on a gown, and because everything just turned like that, just like that. So we family and some friends came over. We prayed for several days. I still believed that I was going to be, it was going to be a different story, that maybe her heartbeat was just so faint that they couldn't hear it, and that we would deliver, but didn't happen. I enjoyed delivering. I'm glad I still have the moment in the memory of pushing her out. And a lot of people don't know that you deal with that in loss.
Yeah.
You know, so a lot of times when you see that, you hear the story, you know, you always hear about that friend or that person that was,
Yeah.
oh, she's 5 months, she's 6 months, and she lost the baby. I mean, do you ever think when you see that belly so big, where did the baby go?
Yeah.
You still have to deliver. You still have to deliver. And that's a trauma that people don't even realize that people go through when they deal with pregnancy or infant loss. Even people that are earlier on that have miscarriages, they still deliver too a lot of times. People don't even realize that miscarriages in general are, in essence, deliveries.
Yeah.
That cramping that they say, no, those are contractions. You're pushing out a baby, no matter how small.
So what do you say? Because you know, you sit here and going, and this is what happened, and that's what happened, and this is what happened, right? So what do you say to people who are like, I don't have the energy to even speak or think about the doctor that lied to me, or wasn't compassionate enough, and I'm supposed to go on? You know, what do you say to that person? Because for all fairness, maybe the doctor didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
Maybe the doctor wasn't there. But no, you lied to me. You weren't honest with me. You weren't compassionate enough for me. What do you say to that person who was sitting in a space still like, if only they would have?
Go through it. I don't think you should clam up your feelings. I don't think you should suppress anything. Go through it. You know, if you feel that way, say it. Get it out, get your thoughts out, get your emotions out. You know, there are so many, there are different stages to grief and loss. So even, you know, denial, anger, you know, blaming people, you know, all of that is all part of it. We blame ourselves. You know, you have to just go through it, you know, because I think if you don't deal with it properly, you can never progress and go on. So go through it.
You can't grow.
You can't grow. Yes, you can't grow in your loss, you know. So go through it. It's okay. And I think you just have to be mindful of what that kind of develops into, what type of habits you take on as a result of that, to see how it is affecting you, because those feelings and harboring negative feelings, even for somebody that did you wrong. You know what we say? It's like, what's that saying? That being bitter or resentful, so it's like drinking poison.
Thinking, expecting the other person to die.
You're expecting the other person to die. So you can be as angry as you want to these doctors and so on and so forth, but you know, I don't know how they're sleeping at night, but we don't have to deal with them. You don't have to sleep with them at night. You have to sleep with yourself. You have to deal with yourself. So if you're the only one drinking the poison of the hurt and anger that you feel towards them, you're the one that's not going to get better. And I'm not saying that you have to go give them a hug, that you got to go sit down and have some intervention. But at some point, you just have to, you can't live with it inside of you anymore.
So how were you able to not live with it? Because you're sitting here, and I'm just like, that's right. So how were you? Well, let me ask you this before I ask you that. How long ago was this?
2014. So
Okay.
May 19th, 2014 is the day that I delivered her. So that's the day we celebrate
her.
Yes.
Celebrate
yes.
Kennedy.
Yes. She actually has a day in Brooklyn.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Yes, the Brooklyn Borough President's Office, we were doing Kennedy Gray Community Service Day. They honored her. So every May 19th in Brooklyn is Kennedy Gray Community Service Day. So if you have birthed something out of trauma, if you triumphed out of trauma, do some community service, you know, on that day.
May 19th.
Yes, in Brooklyn.
Learned something new. Didn't know that. May 19th was Kennedy Gray Day.
Yes.
So what do you attribute to your sense of strength and source of strength that I know my viewers can sense, and I definitely can sense sitting this close to you?
Yes, well, my faith. Thank God. My faith. If I wasn't already rooted in my faith, I definitely think that my journey would have been a lot different. So, but I also grew up an atheist before I gave my life to Christ. So I also know what it's like to even deal with trauma and issues, you know, without relying on Christ. And it's hard, it's difficult, you know, people survive it, but, you know, but my faith is everything. my relationship with Christ is what kept me from, I always make this joke, and it's horrible because I think there's some truth to it. But I always say that my relationship with Christ is what stopped me from walking into the ocean. Because I live on a beach. So sometimes I say to myself, why do I make that analogy? But subconsciously, you know, I'm like, that's really what it's been. I think at the end of the day, I know he loves me. I know he's given me wonderful people around me who love me. I know that he doesn't even deal with or identify death the same way that we do. You know,
it's glorious.
Exactly. So, you know, when we think about even believing in God, believing in heaven, believing in Christ, you know, we know that, you know, the idea is that we want to get back with him in heaven, which means the only way to do that is, unfortunately, we can't be here anymore. So leaving this place is getting back to him, which is a beautiful thing. So, you know, there are times where I do feel selfish and I'm in my flesh and I just feel like, well, I want my daughter. But then, you know, other times I'm like, I'm low-key jealous of her. Like she got to, you know, go straight back and live a beautiful afterlife, you know, that I'm hoping that, you know, I live well enough, you know, to get to. So, but for people that are struggling and going through it, as you're working things out, I would say try your best. If you can't put the whole thing in a box and put it away, just start putting pieces away. Just put it in a box and start putting that away. You know, sometimes you do go through it, you know, and that's why I say we go get the box and bring it out, you know. So sometimes you go through it, you go through those moments when you're triggered and things of that nature. It'll happen, we're human, you know. So I don't say you need to walk around here being a super person. I'm not perfect, I'm far from perfect. I feel like I've even made some more tragic mistakes in my life after my loss because of coping and dealing. So even though I might seem, I don't know, polished or something, because I clean up nice.
Yes, we do.
But
yes.
But even behind that, you know, I still go through. Even when I heard you about to bring me on, I was just like, you know, little tears started coming in. And I was like, wow, I talk about this so much. I normally don't cry, but I felt it coming, hearing it coming out of your mouth, you know. So, you know, don't fight it. My thing is just don't fight these feelings, you know. Just start, you know, you write, you journal, you identify, you start figuring out where to put stuff, where to place it, what to do with it, how to be constructive with it. That's really what it's about. It's just making sure that it doesn't eat you up alive and just
being intentional.
Yes.
Being intentional about living your best life. That's what I've always been saying. Being intentional. Now, I know that you didn't go through this alone. Right? So you had your wonderful husband standing right beside you, going through this with you, and we're gonna bring him on, okay? And so let's get ready to meet her husband, Colin.
Today I'm going to talk to you about physics. Come on in, girls. Let's go. This is the first rocket to get humans to Mars.
Really tall.
I'm a rocket structural engineer designing and building parts of the rocket. You are the generation that will be stepping foot on Mars. Do I have a group of astronauts on my hands?
Yes.
You can become a rocket scientist or whatever else you want to be.
So welcome, Colin. Brooke, there he is. So like I told you, audience, here is the couple, #Black Love. So they are here, and I'm just grateful to have the both of them on the set. So when you weren't out here, Colin, Brooke was talking about you.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, he was. And she gave her version of how y'all met. Can you tell me your version of how y'all met?
All right. We'll go there.
Yeah,
right,
go there. Got your
All right.
popcorn?
Cool. So, all right, Doc. So this is how we was moving. I met her at an open mic. It was a gospel open mic. And the funny thing is, there was a showcase that would take place on a weekend, and name of this showcase, Salvation Cafe, right? That's the name of the showcase. And I would, I just happened to look on the website, and Brooke was on the website.
Oh.
And I was just like, man, I was like, oh, pretty, you know? And I was like, wow.
Stalker.
Nice.
Stalker.
Not even trying to, and I just, just look, but that beauty just stayed right here. And I was like, okay, recognize, just stayed lodged in the brain. And moving forward, I saw a time slot that I could, check out. I was into the arts, poetry background, just wanted something, chill to go to, and, just peace, no drama. Went there, and I did a poem. I ended up seeing her sometime, at the event, and I just, just said, excuse me, are you affiliated with Salvation Cafe Records?
He knew.
That's why
But I didn't want to come off like, crazy stalkish, like, yo, I seen you on the website, and
No, he said that. You said, oh, were you on the website? You did ask that.
But, I was trying to,
but I think that's key. So for all of y'all
Yeah.
individuals, men who, because my husband, I told him he was a stalker too. 'Cause he watched me for a whole year. I found that out. So guys who are into women have stalk-like behavior. But the key is how you approached her, right? You wasn't all excited like, oh my goodness, I saw you. You was like, yo, was that you?
Yeah, you're trying to be smooth,
Yeah.
just trying to, be respectful and not
What
run
you
her
understand?
off.
Brooke is like,
No, he was very intentional about everything he did because he's being a little reserved with it. He was a go-getter, which was exactly what was attractive to me because he approached me. Oh, I saw you on the website. Oh, yeah. Oh, you do music? Yeah. I'm like, what do you do? Oh, I do poetry. And I think we exchanged MySpace.
MySpace, yeah.
oh my gosh.
MySpace.
MySpace accounts or whatever. So
Yeah.
then we spoke on
Y'all old?
MySpace.
Oh, yeah.
Y'all old people.
Well, we just had a milestone birthday. We ain't gonna talk about what number that was. But yeah, and then we kept in contact for like a week. Saw him again at the next event, so we spoke again. And he invited himself out with me because I was going to the museum, and he was like, "Oh, can I come?" I was like, "Oh, okay, sure." But I didn't know if it was a date. I was like, "Is this a date or is it
It was
not?"
a date in my mind.
Yeah, in your mind, in your mind.
It was a date because he came with a flower.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was just like, oh, I was like, it's a date. Oh. And the very next day after our first date, he told me he didn't want to date anybody else.
Oh, dang.
Yes. And I was like, well, what does that mean to you? Like, what does that mean? So he was like, well, I don't want to scare you, but, I'd rather just see it through. We could break up. And I was just like, oh. So, I wanted to fight it a little bit, that angry black girl in you sometimes. I'd be like, you don't even know me. What you mean?
Girl, wait, I've been there because I told my husband, you ain't even real. You ain't real. Real men don't do that. While I was like this, I love you too. Yes.
But I knew what I wanted though, and I think
Yeah.
that's just what it is. Like a lot of times if I could be back and forth with decisions, but with Brooke, I just knew like it was deep. It was a spiritual connection, and I just felt like, hey, I know what I want, and I rock with you. I get with you. On all levels that I'm looking for, just outside of just being physically attracted to her, but just emotionally, spiritually, and I'm just like, hey, why look further? Like if I see it now, call it out.
Yeah, and I felt God kind of humbled me in that moment too, because He said, why are you fighting against exactly what you asked for?
Girl, that's the same thing my husband said. My husband was like, well, why are you fighting me? Because I broke up with him and he didn't even do anything. Like, I was like, it's over. And he was like, oh. And then later that night, I was like, you can take me back. I ain't mean to hurt. I don't want it to be over. I think because we get so, and I say this all the time, we get so used to the abnormal being normal.
Yes.
That when the normal shows up, we don't know what to do with it.
Yeah. So I humbled myself. I said, okay. And 2 months after we started dating, he proposed to me.
Oh.
And we got married on our 1-year anniversary.
Okay, so that's exceptional, everybody.
Yeah.
So that's an exception.
Well, we did
Yes.
fast.
Okay.
So maybe it is possible because we actually fasted for the first 40 days.
Yeah.
And we actually like,
I wasn't hungry.
Yeah.
maybe I was.
Well, we kind of fasted from the things that I feel like that could be a distraction in a
Okay,
relationship.
so it wasn't food distraction.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
No, we fasted from like, we didn't go to the movies together. We didn't do like a lot of like those fun things that could kind of make things a little bit,
You wanted to be clear and hear clearly.
Yeah, so
that-
so we spoke to each other. We read, we did the Purpose-Driven Life together. Like we did one chapter a night with each other, and then
We even had an ugly prayer.
oh yeah,
The ugly prayer is like, Lord, if, with all due respect, we respect each other. We want to treat each other right, but at the same time, if we are not for each other, Lord, show us the way right now.
Yeah.
And it was a prayer that it's like, dang, this is tough, but want
yeah,
the
because
right
we
thing.
wanted this. We knew we wanted this.
So I have a question. Were y'all intimate before or after y'all got married?
After we had our first kiss,
I didn't hear.
we had our first kiss on at the altar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, we humped on top of our clothes a little bit.
I was like,
and
oh,
then I was
wait,
like,
wait.
Lord, forgive me. Oh my gosh, because we wanted to try to do things different.
Yeah.
So I'm like I said, I'm no angel and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and I've struggled definitely with being promiscuous and things of that nature. But I can honestly say that he's probably the first relationship that I went through without having intercourse.
Yeah.
And this is the one I ended up marrying.
And it's possible.
It's very possible.
Intentional.
Yeah.
That's the way it'll work.
Yeah. We had to put God before us.
Yeah.
So if we did something with each other, it was just like, oh no, we're cheating on God right now because we said we were going to do this with him. So,
You know? Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just want to say, in coming out of divorce, for me, it was just like, I didn't want my vision to be cloudy. So like, if I got close to something, like I remember one time we did a quick peck on the lips, and I'm like, yo, I need to chill right now.
He scolded me.
Like I was like,
he called me later that night.
It was
we
you, 'cause
can't
it was
do
you.
that.
It was like, hey,
and it was just me, because I just knew how I was and sensitive, and I was just
Yeah.
like, I was doing the 6-inch pandemic stuff before.
Yeah,
Before all this, I'm like, yo, babe, what's up?
The church hug.
Yeah,
You was
doing
even the church hug.
Yeah, I was on that church hug vibe. So yeah, just want to tell you.
Okay. So fast forward to now you're married and you are about to have life together, right? So fast forward to the moment or the day that y'all found out that y'all were pregnant.
Now, the one thing I've noticed about these majority of the 120 principles is how humble everyone is.
Yeah.
Why is always these principles so humble?
You have to be humble. I think when you're doing the work and the work is sincere, coming from your heart and your spirit, you don't look for accolades. You're not looking to be celebrated because that's not the purpose.
We don't see us helping us.
Right.
And I get all of that. But if black people don't know that black people can help black people, then they keep looking for white people to help them. And that's the fundamental problem, is we keep looking for them because the ones that really help don't want nobody to know they're doing it because they're so humble.
Right.
But sometimes you gotta brag so you can lead by example. Have you ever heard of any black principals celebrated?
Absolutely not. Not until
that's
OSG
crazy.
and Dame Dash.
Now, what's
Actually,
more important than who's safeguarding and taking care of our children?
Nobody. OSG is a coalition. I feel like even the word coalition is not the right word. It's as close as we can get. We make jokes calling it a league of superheroes, but
That's not a joke.
it's not a joke. In many ways, OSG is a league of uncelebrated, humble superheroes.
100%. But unapologetic and swaggy.
Unapologetic and swaggy. We
Keep the
definitely have
swaggy.
swag.
They got
Yes.
swag.
Okay. So fast forward to now you're married and you are about to have life together, right? So fast forward to the moment or the day that y'all found out that y'all were pregnant. So tell us about that.
Yeah, it was amazing. I think I was at my mom's house, and I pretty much had a regular cycle, and I was late, and that usually never happens. So I think I went to the store, got the little corner store test, and it was the first time I ever saw the the pink cross.
One line, you're not, two lines, you are, or the cross.
Yes. Yeah. So I took a photo, sent it to him. He was at work. And I think time went by, he didn't look at it. So I'm calling, did you see the photo? And he was like, yeah, I'm gonna get back to you. I'm like, can you look at the photo, please? So it was amazing. We didn't expect it so soon. We had like a 5-year plan that we were trying to do first. So we were ahead of the plan, but we were excited.
So when you saw the photo, what did you think, Colin?
I was in shock. Like as soon as I saw it, doctor, I called and I was like, wow. You know, I was just like, wow. Like
that's a whole lot. Wow.
Yeah. It's like
that was a novel.
A father, like, you know, just started thinking. Now I'm like, whew, you know, a lot, you know, like what I need to do, and you know, but it was a lot of excitement still.
All right, so now we're going through. You're having family. You tell family, and what was your family saying? Both of your families.
Excited.
Yeah.
Excited. My mom didn't have any grandchildren yet. So this was her first grandchild, so she was excited. You know, same thing with my siblings because now they were going to be aunts and uncle. So yeah, it was a great time.
And your family?
Same. It just excited. You know, rooting us on, and it was just like, all right, let's.
Especially for a little girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, because his mom has 2 grandsons, so this is going to be the princess.
Okay. All right. So now. Fast forward to the moment y'all both found out. Take us into that space with the both of y'all.
That we found out about the loss?
Yeah.
It was interesting. I mean, the phrase, you know, not having a heartbeat, you know, I just always remember that there's no heartbeat. I was confused. I didn't know what that meant. What do you mean there's no heartbeat? So I think there was a moment of denial for me for a moment because I just went through 9 months of pregnancy. There's no way that this is not working out. Like, this doesn't happen. You know, you think about when you hear about stillbirth or pregnancy loss, you know, it happens to people who are sick. It happens to people who are not healthy. It happens to people who, you know, that's what you think. That's the stigma. You know, so for me, you know, for that moment, it was just like, no, this is not like, we did everything right. This doesn't happen. You know, we didn't even talk about it at the doctor's visits. You know, so for me, just a lot of shock, you know, and denial in that moment.
For me, it was, I've realized that, you know, just life isn't granted, you know. I couldn't take it for granted. Like, you know, for me, having experience dealing with miscarriage beforehand, I was like, ah, dang, that hurt. But it was just like, all right, you know, I felt in my head that once you get past a certain time frame within the pregnancy, it's expected to have that child. Like, you expect it's going to be, woo, okay, you got past a couple of weeks, woo, you got past this trimester, woo, okay, now we moving on. But then, like, I said, 9 months, like, what? Like, it's a joke? Like, you know, it's like shock. Like, it's like witnessing something that, you know, dealing with, you know, the loss in the beginning, but then dealing with the loss at the end of the pregnancy. You're about to go to the home base, the plate, and get that home run and catch your child, hold your child, and like now it's over, just like that. It was hard for me to like accept.
And I shared it with everybody.
Why did this have to happen to me? Why wasn't I worthy to take my son home? All these things happening to my body and I have nothing to show for it. I have no baby to show for it.
It affects everything. Socialising, working, just being is very difficult.
I remember thinking, how am I going to get over this?
As a man, you just feel like a bit of a failure because your missus is there crying and that, and you just feel like you're helpless.
We would always make sure we had Leo's memory box with us because it felt like that was him.
I took to my Instagram account. I found quite a few people that had lost babies. To find this group that can say what's in your head when you can't get the words out just makes you feel less alone.
I think the main thing is talking to your partner. just sort of just be there for each other. Do you know what I mean?
I had counselling, which I was offered before I left the hospital. I probably had about 10 or 12 sessions, and I think that really helped us.
It helped me understand her state of mind. We were able to help each other more, whereas had we not had it, we were poles apart.
It hurt because for me, and I can't speak for all other men, I can only speak for myself. And what I say is I feel what bothered me was I tried my best to provide for the family. You know, I tried my best to make sure that, you know, I want to make sure finances are straight. I want to make sure that, you know, the house is set up, you know, the right way. I want doing all this stuff. I want to protect my wife, make sure she's good, you know, be there for my child that I'm expecting. But it hurts because it's like, man, it's just certain things. It's just like, wow, there was nothing I could do but just watch. There's nothing like, you know, just knowing that my child went through, you know, just wasn't meant for me to have her, you know, but it's just like, dang, like, you know, just to be on the outside looking in, you know, it really humbled me and realized that as much as I feel like I can control within my hands, there's certain things that's just out of my grasp I cannot get to. And it really is an act of God. It really is something miraculous when you bring forth a child, because no matter how smart you are, no matter all the doctors in the world, they can't do nothing but use the technology, if the technology even works right, but use what they have and use their brain to look and come up with what could be and what, you know, what's not happening. But there's nothing that we as human beings can do what happens in here. It's just the inner workings was out of my control. It hurt me because I couldn't do nothing. I just had to be there and be vulnerable.
Well, I want to say that what I do know is out of your vulnerability and out of your pain and out of your trial, the two of you have come together and created something amazing for others. Can you talk about that?
Yes, yes. So we co-founded the Baby Resource Center. So it's a nonprofit organization, and we help families that go through what we've been through. So families that are expecting, we want to provide information for them so that they can potentially have a positive birth experience. And for those that go through what we've gone through, because we know we can't prevent every loss, we provide the support and those resources for families. So we do peer support groups. We pay for burials and cremations. I mean, people don't even realize that, you know, when you give birth to a whole baby, what do you do with it afterwards? And the hospitals are not really clear sometimes. You know, they say, oh, do you want us to handle it? And handling it means sending the baby to a cemetery for unclaimed bodies.
Whoa.
That's not a place that you can go visit your baby at, that you can put flowers. If you get to that point where you want to do something like that, we feel like families should have the option. So, you know, we want to give them the resource, the information, so that they can make informed decisions. We do an annual walk every year over the Brooklyn Bridge. It's called the Go Pink and Blue Walk. And families come together. We have a silent party, so kind of like a stillbirth, a silent birth, they call it. So we have silent concerts through the headphones. Even the brand itself, Go Pink and Blue, that hashtag actually went viral. We had over 500,000 people add our pink and blue overlay to their profile pictures in honor of babies that were lost. So it's not our story. You know, I say it all the time. 1 in 4 women, you know, in America will lose their baby. That means, you know, when
25% of the population.
Yes, yes. So, and Colin, as you know, he handles the men's division. So he talks with the fathers. He tries to get them rallied up. You know, they meet every now and then and do things that guys do because they're different from us.
Yeah. and I see a Phi Beta Sigma.
Oh, you know,
that's right.
Well, let's not forget the vice president.
I didn't see that one. So we got the AKA and the
President Harris.
That's right.
That's love.
So, and that's been a source of strength to helping us grow and cultivate and be better with our business and and how we execute things also. So because we came into our chapters after, you know, our loss.
Okay.
So that's been amazing. Wealth of support as well.
And with the fatherhood programs that we do, again, you know, alongside dealing with the loss, we work on the prenatal care and the infant care resources, you know, as well, through helping families through birth and loss. And the fatherhood programs is that, you know, I focus on is just trying to like help brothers, you know, through the situation, just, you know, adjusting to fatherhood, things of that nature. The following year, God blessed us with a son.
Yes, I was about
You
to
know,
say.
so it's like, it was amazing. But, you know, to be open about it, like for me, it's just like, you know, the stuff that I thought I would be, you know, initially, like, yo, son, you know, you get a scratch or you hurt yourself, get up. You're gonna be all right. You all right. But because of what I've been through, I felt myself being like overprotective, like, oh, you okay? You know what I mean? I was worried about how I was gonna hold them and, you know, deal with them, or, you know, I didn't want him to fall, I didn't want him to cry, like very sensitive, like very, very touchy, you know, and it was just like, just stuff that I would look at, you know, on the outside, just seeing how some men deal with their sons. I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking I'm doing that, but I realized I wasn't doing all of that when felt like I was being
You
really
were fathering
sensitive.
out of your trauma.
Yes, yes.
And there was trauma on top of that. Our son ended up having complex febrile seizures. Wow. And the first one happened at a major department store. So, you know, he was sitting in the shopping cart, and next thing you know, he went limp and his lips were turning purple, and nobody would help us, you know. So a few customers came over, and you know, we just started doing whatever we thought we were supposed to do. Colin was praying, and you know, so you already live with the trauma, you know, of your loss. And in the back of your head, you're fearing that even this kid is gonna go. And then you still have something like that happen. So it is very difficult.
Losing a child is something a parent never gets over. Colin Smith and his wife Brooke know what this grief feels like. They lost a baby who was stillborn at birth. But this is not just their story. Every year in America, 1 in 4 mothers experience a pregnancy or infant loss. Research shows that with additional pregnancies, this risk increases. After their loss, they discovered there was a lack of resources for grieving parents like them. They felt this was unacceptable and decided to do something about it. They founded the Baby Resource Center, a charitable organization that supports expecting parents and families affected by pregnancy or infant loss. Some of the services they offer include free doula services, educational presentations, monthly peer support groups, fatherhood programs, therapy grants, and even a special memorial grant program that enables you to name a grant in memory of a baby. Each year, they host New York City's annual Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Walk. The commemoration starts with healing and recovery workshops. Then they inspire their walkers across the Brooklyn Bridge into a beautiful candle ceremony to honor their children. With a donation or monthly sponsorship, you can become part of the healing process and remind grieving families that even in their devastation, they are still surrounded by love and support, even from people they may not know. The Baby Resource Center, helping families through birth and loss.
Well, I want to say that God's anointing is on your life. The reason why I say that is because whenever the enemy comes that hard, that's because he knows what damage y'all could do to his kingdom. So that he don't mess with people he ain't afraid of, right?
Especially the children, because our son be talking about Jesus all day.
Yeah,
so
there's a plan for not only the two of you, but for the child that is now here. So if people want to get in contact with you, how can they get in contact with you, the both of you?
Social media is the best way. Online, thebabyresourcecenter.org, thebabyresourcecenter.org. We're also on social media at the baby resource.
So that's IG?
That's IG. Wasn't enough characters for the rest of it, you know what I'm saying? But the baby resource, or Go Pink and Blue on IG also. I think that's the best way.
And I know you have music, so if they want to hear your music, Brooke.
Yes. So that's on my personal page, Brooke Lugo Smith. It's just my name. My single "Pick Up Your Crown" is live and it's out. Even Jackson helped with the merchandising.
Okay.
He drew a little photo of himself with a crown and wrote "Pick Up Your Crown." So talking about he's a businessman.
That's right. That's right. You got to train them young.
Yes. So I'm happy, and even that in itself is amazing because I haven't done music since my loss.
Okay.
So it's a form of self-care. I did an amazing campaign for my birthday where people actually donated to help me do this project.
Okay.
So I thank everybody that supported and donated and thought enough of me to help me, you know, operate in a level of self-care to do this. So it's amazing. And I'll be giving a portion of the proceeds to my church, Church City USA.
That's Pastor Richie Righteous.
Yes, Pastor Richie Righteous. So they've been an amazing support to us during this time. And, you know, they have a great vision for the youth. So, you know, we want to help change that building and you know, get a new building and a school and all this other stuff. So we're going to be donating a portion of those proceeds from Jackson's designs to the music. Even Colin has poetry coming out.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to say. So if they want to get in contact with you, Colin, how do they reach out to you?
Oh, thank you. For me on Instagram is I am Colin G. Smith, and that would be the best way to contact.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am. Like I am.
I am. Any telephone numbers that they can reach out to or no?
Yes, our number is 866-606-BABY. Okay. Very simple. And 2229 is the numbers that go with it. But 866-606-BABY.
All right. And so if you need any assistance, if you need any help, if you know anyone that needs assistance, need any help because you're going through, you have a perfect resource, Black Love resource, baby resource, Black baby resource, all things Black, but all things human.
Yes.
Because we all bleed red and we all give life. So thank you, ladies. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And sharing your story.
Us.
Thank you for joining in.
Yes.
Thank you.
And my name is Dr. Anissa Reilly, and this is the Ask Dr. Reilly Show, and we out.
On your mark. I know what you've been through. I know what you've been through. I've been through it too. I've been through it too. But don't you lose your fight. Don't you lose your fight. You've been called out of dark into his marvelous light. Behind your smile, love, I know you were hurting, but there's nothing worse than not knowing what to hold on to. But you are royal, and his love's been loyal. So before you look in the mirror, there's one thing you should do. Pick up your crown. Pick up your crown. Pick up your crown. Pick it up. Pick it up. Pick it up. Back on the scene. Yes, it's your queen. The devil tried it, but why? 'Cause he can't intervene. I know you wanna throw the hero away. We walk around with the Jordan face. What if I told you you was something like T'Challa, son of the king? Yes, you're his Tokaya, his namesake. But don't get trapped in the sunken place. Once you're a mental slave, it's too late. It's too late. But wait, if this all goes back to the mind, your spiritual power is divine. 9 times out of 10, you think you lost, but you set up for a win. So exemplify your excellence. We ain't playing with this melanin. Like Rich said, in the midst of the crisis, get your mind right and focus on who Christ is. Pick it up. Your crown. Pick it up. Pick it up. Your crown. Pick it up. Pick it up. Your crown. Pick it up. 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 Pick up your crown. Pick up your crown. Pick up your crown. Pick up your crown.
I done.
Okay, one more time and then that's it. Wait, let him fix it. Okay, go ahead. Ready?
Don't look, Daddy.
Oh, don't look, Daddy. Okay. Ready? Oh, he an artist too. Don't look. Okay, ready? It's coming.
Welcome to the Dr. Reilly Show.
Next time on Ask Dr. Reilly, Dr. Reilly continues her conversation with Colin Smith to get a father's perspective about losing their baby Kennedy.
You know, like I felt like the bad guy, you know, when I think about it, because I'm like, man, that's a child. But I all I could think of was just like, you know, just going from really understanding the difference of emotions of what I was going through, you know, from my ex to my wife, and then just like, and then, you know, just seeing the process, because my wife didn't go through that.
Yeah.
So I knew what it was.
Yeah.
When one nurse would come in, let me get an opinion a second, I'll be right back. And then another one come in, I'll be right back. And I'm just sitting there and I'm just looking like, saying to myself, like, my wife don't know what's about to hit her. And I'm just like, asking God, like, give me strength, like, help me to be strong, trying to keep a poker face, just like, maybe, just maybe. But then once the doctor came, I was like, okay, here we go. And that's when I started, you know, I was going through a guilt myself, and I was just like, and that's when we were just like, okay, maybe there's a beat there, you know, but, you know, that's my, you know, my end.
I'm your host, Dr. Anissa Reilly.